Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Speed Talk. Pretty cool one tonight. We got the privilege of being joined by the 99 of the Mailman, Devin Moran. Devin, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for having me on. Yeah, hang out, talk for a little bit, and see what we talk about.
So yeah, no, we obviously just got done with a long Speed Weeks for you. Just take us through a little bit of your recap of that, how that was in your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the best speed weeks I've ever had. We ended up racing in 15 features, and 13 out of the 15 we ran top fives, and then ended up with 4 wins. So really, that's the most wins I've had at speed weeks, and probably the most top fives I've ever had, percentage wise per races. So to go down there and win at every track we raced at, other than Brunswick, was a pretty cool feat, and yeah, it gives us a really great start to the year.
Yeah, no, you were
For
you were
sure.
fun to watch down there, man. It's too bad to see you get that flat. Was that at All Tech that night?
Yeah, first night at All Tech.
Oh my
But then
God.
you made up for it and you came from 11th on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, and to be honest, I felt like that was the race of all speed weeks. It was we were all slicing and dicing 4 or 5 different leaders, and it was an awesome race that night. So to kind of redeem ourselves from Thursday to Saturday, it was an awesome feeling. Like we had the race won on Thursday and just had a flat coming to the white. So and we were definitely crushed about it, but to come back and to fight through the field on Saturday and to win that race, it was really cool to cap off that little weekend there.
Absolutely. So
How
a
much when
question
you're, oh,
oh, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask how much you're thinking about points when you're racing this early in the season, or do you try, I guess, to block it out for the most part?
You try to block it out, but the way Lucas is doing things this year, every win is 10 more bonus points going into the playoffs. So you're
Oh,
pretty much thinking, hey, we're here to win races, and if we win races, we do nothing but better our chances to win the championship. So our main goal, night in and out, is to win races, and hopefully we got a little bit of a bonus over top of everybody else.
right.
So I guess I want to go back to that flat tire you had that night. I guess a question I've always had for you late model guys is, I mean, when you guys get those right rear flats, they're pretty common. Is it just a matter of building too much tire heat? Does it depend what compound you're running, softer, harder tire? Does that make a difference?
I mean, most generally, harder compound tires aren't going to go as flat as soft, but it can be a multiple of things. You could be at a rubbered up racetrack and it just wears all the tread out and you get a flat. You could be somewhere that has a lot of rocks or a lot of just debris in the track and it causes flat. And then sometimes, I mean, nobody's perfect. Sometimes the tires just aren't aren't correct and
Right.
they have problems as well, but like I said, nobody's perfect, so that happens for everybody. So there's different things that can happen, and you just try to avoid all of those different things as much as you can and figure out how to hey pup, figure out how to not have any DNFs.
Right? You got is that a doodle? Or what do you got?
He's a burner doodle.
Oh, I
Moose,
got
hey
I,
Moose, come say hi.
Looks a lot like Loretta.
yeah, I got a little golden doodle. She's kind of that color. She looks similar.
Yeah, he's three or four now, I forget. He's yeah, mini burner doodle. His name's Moose. He's my buddy.
Not a mean bone in their body, is there?
Not at all. He's
Yeah.
he's a sissy, to be honest. We bring him to the races all the time, and he literally just sits there and curls up, and he's like hiding from everybody the entire time.
Jeez.
Oh, that's awesome. No, but
Uh,
oh, go
Devin, I
ahead,
got a
buddy.
question for you quick.
Yeah,
What's going back to tires? What's the process going into like each main of the night? What's the thought process between you and your tire guy and what compounds to run? What do you guys think about each night?
I mean, A, you got to think about how many laps it is. B, the tire choices that we're gonna have. C, what the track looks like and what we're really thinking per laps. And then the last thing that you always got to think about is kind of starting position. If you're starting up front and feel like you have a good chance to win, you don't want to gamble and risk a chance of losing the race by tires. But if you're starting in the back, you're like, hey, we have nothing to lose. Let's go different than everybody else, and it can sometimes benefit or sometimes hurt. So
Right.
there's a lot of different variables, and you kind of got to take them all into consideration.
Okay.
So what is on say you're running a 40 lapper versus a 75 lapper, you're gonna run a softer tire in a 40 lapper, correct?
That depends where we're at. If we're at Batesville, Arkansas, we're gonna run a hard tire. But if we're at like Ocala or Muskingum or somewhere that's not hard on tires, then yeah, you would probably run the soft tires. So another variable is where you're at and track condition without a doubt.
For sure.
Nope, but so yeah, I guess going to Speed Weeks. What was it like for Speed Weeks without East Bay? I mean, take us through what that was kind of like.
So it was definitely a bummer. I mean, every single year, my entire lifetime for last 30 years, I've been going to East Bay and soaking up the sun in Tampa and going to the beaches and casino and everything. So to not be able to go there was obviously a bummer. But at the same time, it's to that point. Hey, it's done. We're past it. We gotta enjoy the new tracks we have now, and hopefully they can build that vibe, and we can start going there and enjoying them tracks. And someday my kids will be growing up at Ocala or Alltech or Volusia instead of East Bay.
Yep.
Awesome. So I kind of want to go back on that. You said, for the last 30 years of your life for your kids, what was it like growing up being the son of the $1 million man? That was kind of a question I wanted to ask you. I mean, what was like growing up with dad? What was it like?
I mean, just like anybody else, like obviously he had the racing stuff and he wasn't home a lot and we got to go to the races a lot, unlike a lot of people. But at the same time, when we were home, I have three other brothers. There's four boys and my little sister. Me and my three brothers would be out in the front yard every single night, and my dad was the old time quarterback, and we'd be playing football every night, or we'd be going and playing basketball, or he'd take us to baseball, or just anything. It's just like anybody else. He's just a normal dude. He just had an incredible talent, and he let that kind of control his life and his career, and we've all accepted that and love it for him and love it for ourselves. And fortunate enough for me, I'm trying to follow them footsteps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty big ones to fill there, but I'd say you're doing a pretty damn good job. I mean, I remember watching you. So we were just having this conversation before you got on here. You came to Deer Creek Speedway probably I want to say 2014, 2015 maybe. And I just
17.
remember you getting taken out and there was a bunch of shit going down at the scales. Someone was jumping on someone's. Who was that? Or what was the deal there? I don't remember.
Yeah, so that was 2017. First time I was ever at Deer Creek. I led almost the whole race, and
Yep.
Madden spun me out with like 5 to go.
In
That's
turn
who
one,
it
right?
was.
Yep, getting into one.
I remember that.
So after the races, I was extremely upset. My dad was extremely upset. Madden pulled off, got up on the scales, and I was coming around as he was trying to get off the scales, and I parked it in front of him and I revved it up at him. Well, he like flipped his lid and he revved up at me. And as he revved up and like gassed it towards me, my dad was walking in front of him. So he ran over my dad, and dad fell into his filler panel, and it was just a big old ordeal. Then his crew guys were like trying to hit my car, and we were throwing them off the car, and it was I don't have that happen a whole lot, but that night it got the best of us because I was really young in my national career, and we really wanted to get that win. So it was just one of them deals that we were heated and it didn't work out for us, but we just learned from our mistakes and try not to let it happen again.
No, I just
What
remember. Oh, go ahead, buddy.
oh I was just gonna say, what do you think of that place? That's where we're from. That's our Saturday nights is Deer Creek Speedway.
I'm
You are
6
some
miles
lucky
from Deer
dudes. I
Creek.
can promise you that. Like it is literally one of my favorite racetracks. When they took it from Lucas Oil and went back to the World of Outlaws, I was so bummed because like I know I'm talking bad about it, but it just hurt the event in my opinion. You don't have a lot of
Yeah.
the guys up there that were up there the year before. The 2023, we were all up there plus some of the outlaw guys, and now it's not that way. So I feel like that event kind of regressed a little bit, but they do have their concert and stuff. But a great racetrack, and hopefully at some point Lucas can figure out how to get another scheduled race up there.
Are you guys scheduled over top of that this year?
Yep. We're actually
Okay.
racing in Ohio during them races.
Gotcha. I think it's 4th of July weekend again.
Yep, exactly.
So is there like when you start off the year, obviously, going into the year you're gonna do the Lucas tour, whatever tour you're following. Do you have set events that you're like, when we're off tour, I want to hit Deer Creek Speedway, Mississippi Thunder, whatever Fairbury, do you have set events that you have on your schedule when you're not racing your Lucas Tour? Do you kind of decide that how you're feeling that day or something like that?
So we do have set events, one that we actually have marked on the calendar that I haven't been to since 2018 is Cedar Lake, kind of up in your guys' neck of the woods. I haven't been to the USA Nationals for a long time, and they upped the ante this year. Now it's 100,000 to win, and any racetrack that's going to put the money up, we're going to come race and support them for doing that. So that's one race that we're planning on going to. I've got some other ones, but to be honest, we just sit down, we look at the schedule, we try to see what makes the most sense to go to races, and that's what we do. There's a couple World of Outlaw races at Atomic at the start of April that we'll hit because they're close to home and they pay good money. So we just, like I said, we try to find what fits in our schedule good. And then throughout the year, sometimes it changes. If we're having problems or blowing motors or something, we might say, "Hey, we're not going." Or if we're running really good, we might be like, "Hey, yeah, we're definitely going to just go ahead and go to this race too." So it varies, but we do sit down, come up with a schedule, and then just kind of pick and choose from there. Other than the Lucas races, like you said, we're going to the Lucas races no matter what. Every time they're racing.
Well, I was always curious how that worked. So now, so you guys just got back off of Speed Weeks. You raced what, like 16 shows, 18 races? I know it was a
And
lot.
it ended up being 17 shows, and I was in 15 features. Yeah.
Holy cow. So after
Yeah.
something like that, I mean, that's a lot of racing. You got to come back. You got to tear the cars down, go through the engines. I mean, what all do you go about after a big, long, 2, 3 week deal like that? What's all got to happen at the shop before you race again?
So the first thing we do when we get back, obviously, we wash everything inside and outside of the truck and trailer, all the shocks and springs, tires and wheels. We strip our cars completely down and clean them all up. And then I have my race party right after Speed Weeks every year. So then we load it all back up and take it over to one of my buddy's shops, and we get the race party ready and hang out and drink a couple beers. And then this week, now that we're going this week, we just start on bodies. We literally just go through everything just like it's another off season. Put a body, deck and body on it. Go through motors, go through transmissions, rear ends, hubs and rotors. We just strictly go through everything and just make sure everything's ready to go. And takes a week and a half, 2 weeks. I got a great crew, so they do a good job, and I don't have to worry about time frame because they are so good at what they do. So yeah, we just get that stuff done, and then it's game on here, middle of March.
Awesome. So how many hours a day would you say you spend in the shop when you're not racing? I mean, are you out there every day, you'd say?
Yeah, I'm there almost every day. I spend a lot of time at the shop. I'm not saying I do the most compared to my crew guys. I kind of oversee and do the PR and paperwork and stuff like that. So we're always there. We usually start anywhere from 8:30 to 9:30 every day, and we were there till 6:30 tonight. We got done working at 5, and we went upstairs and turned a couple races on and watched a couple races from last year. So we definitely spend a lot of time there without a doubt, and that's pretty much us every day, unless we're off racing or on a vacation or something else like that.
Awesome. Sounds like a pretty good gig, not gonna lie.
I cannot complain. I've been very blessed, so I'm very lucky and fortunate that I get to live the life I do.
Does it
Absolutely.
ever, I mean, there's got to be times where you're on just a month of bad stretches or just terrible luck, mechanical failures, whatnot. I mean, it's got to burn you out a little bit at some point. You got to find a way to kind of motivate yourself, I guess, to get back into it.
Yeah, so like the last 2.5 years or so, I haven't had any of them stretches. Luckily
Good.
enough. But
Knock on wood.
in years past, I definitely have. It's like, man, it gets to be so miserable and grueling, and you're like, what am I doing here right now? Like, why are we not doing this, or why are we not doing that? And you just got to fight through those times. You as you get older, you kind of figure out the things that work for you and the things that don't. And the thing that works for me is the guys I've surrounded myself with are great people and great workers. Um, in my opinion, I've got one of the best crew guys or crew chiefs in the pits. Got one of the best mechanics in the pits, and we actually just hired a new tire guy, and I think he's going to work out pretty good. So, got them. I've got my wife, who's 110% supporter and does all my merch and stuff. So, she's behind me all the time, and an amazing car owner in Roger Sellers is awesome, and he's behind me 100% of the time. So now that I've surrounded myself with so many great people, um, it's awesome. I have zero complaints. If my life could stay like this forever, I'd be happy with it because we're running good. Everybody's fun to be around. We have a good time, and things are just gelling. So hopefully we can just keep the ball rolling like that and, for as long as we can, and keep moving forward with it.
For
No,
sure.
absolutely.
It's good to have good people around you, especially at the racetrack.
100%.
So I guess
You know,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
going back, I mean, you're talking about how, blessed you are being where you are. I mean, where did it start? How did you get to the point you are now? What did it take?
A lot of hours of working on the race shop. To be honest, I started driving for my grandpa in '09. Then we sold his old car, and I started driving for my dad in 13. And then I had a Tommy Pope Construction jump on board in 2016. He bought us some cars. And then I got my first national break with Ty Torg in 2017 and 18. Him and my dad were partnered up. Then I went to Dunbenson in 2019 and raced with them for a year, and it just didn't work out. So I came back and raced for strictly Ty only in 20 through 22. And then after that, I got hired by Roger Sellers with Double Down Motorsports at the start of 23, and we've been there with him since. But until Roger Sellers and Double Down in 23, for most of my career, it was just me and Wiley up and down the road. And my dad would drive the hauler most of the times, but it was pretty much just me and Wiley doing everything. And then we finally got another crew guy in the end of 21, and then I had two full-time crew guys all of 22. But until then, like I said, when it was just me and Wiley, we were literally working in the shop from 9 in the morning till midnight every day, all summer long for 10 years straight, just trying to make it work, and it did a lot. We don't get me wrong, we had a lot of good help and supporters and everybody else, but me and him did the majority of the work, and especially Wiley, he did a ton of it. He did all the tires, all the maintenance on the car, and I did pretty much all the setup and shocks and springs and that stuff. But we did it all, and we, like I said, we just spent a lot of hours, and that's kind of got us to where we're at now.
Is
No, I
Wiley still
remember.
helping out, or is he? I can't remember if the last time I saw that he was doing some detailing type of stuff, or
Yep. So when COVID hit in 2020, he started his own detail business because we couldn't afford to pay him while COVID was going on.
yep.
Then he got back on board with us once we started racing, and then Speedweeks in 22. I think it was 22. Speedweeks in 22 was when he finished his full time stint with me, and he went full time to his detailing business. And he pretty much does that all the time. He comes racing sometimes, but not a whole lot anymore. He's happily married, and he's got. We all have a bunch of nieces and nephews, so he's hanging out with them all the time. So he doesn't come a lot, but he still loves the racing and comes when he can.
No, I
Very
remember.
nice.
I think it probably was that night when you and Madden got in. Well, I shouldn't say you and Madden. Madden got into you, and I remember my dad and we came down. I think you guys were parked right when you coming from the pit gate, second road, first stall on the right. I remember coming down, and my dad and I talked to you, and I thought it was pretty cool. I will say, you are probably one of the only drivers on that tour that really gave us the time of day. I mean, we sat and talked for, God, quite a while. I mean, I know you talk to so many people in what you do, but I thought that was pretty impressive and pretty admirable about you guys that you took the time, gave us fans the time of day, and not a lot of guys would do that. So I think that says a lot about you guys and your program, and I thought that was pretty cool. I never forgot that. It's been 8 years, and I still thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. A lot of drivers don't understand, but I tell people all the time, without the fans, we're not going to be racing. They are literally what pays the purses for us to come race for the money that we race for. So if I can give someone 3 minutes of my time for them to be a lifelong fan and love the racing, not even just for me, just for racing in general, then it's worth it. And just being a decent human being as well. It's a lot of people, especially young kids, look up to me. I feel like, and I want to be the best role model I can for them. And yeah, it's cool to be able to experience what I've been able to experience and meet a ton of great people. And sometimes it's just it yeah, it's a lot of fun.
No, I just say I never forgot that. I just remember, like I said, when we left, my dad and I were so impressed. It was you and Wiley, and
Yep.
I thought that was pretty cool that Wiley was doing tires down there, and you were sitting there talking to us, and we were kind of talking to both of you while he was doing tires, and yeah, like I said, it's just pretty cool. Not a lot of people, especially when you get to the level that you're at. I don't want to say don't have that time for others, but kind of am as well. But I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. No, anyways, kind of going off of that, just kind of had some questions down here for you. One of them was, what's a track you've never won at but really want to? I mean, is there one that sticks out?
A track that I've never won at that I really want to. I have one there. I'd like to win at Port Royal. I've never won at Port Royal. Other than that, I don't know. I've won at East Bay or East Bay. I've won at Eldora now.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you have a feature one at Knoxville? I feel
No,
like
I
that'd be a
definitely
cool
want to
one.
win at Knoxville. Knoxville is a good one. I've been close. I've ran second and third there. That I would say Knoxville would have to be the track I really, really want to win at.
That place is so cool.
Oh, Knoxville's awesome. It's a great racetrack.
Been there one time, and it was for the Thursday night portion of the Sprint Car Nationals. But I was a lot younger, but it was the coolest thing. Came
Yeah,
back and raced Friday night
I've never been there for the Sprint Car Nationals, so at some point I'm going there and hanging out and drinking some beer and just being a fan for the weekend. I want to go check it out without a doubt.
for sure.
We've always said, I mean, you're right up in that area, I guess, but I've never been to Fairbury. That's like number one on my list. I want to go watch a race at Fairbury before I die. That might be our trip this summer. I don't know, but what's that place like for you?
Oh, it's awesome. I've been lucky enough. I've won the PDC, and then I ended up winning the Lucas Oil race there during the Illinois Speedweeks there last year. So I've had some pretty good success, and I've struggled there at times as well. But for some reason, me and Fairbury fit pretty decent.
It just
Heck
looks
yeah.
like a track you really got to get up on the wheel on.
You have to be up on the wheel, on the gas, on the cushion, ready to kind of tear some crap up, but at the same time finesse it at points as well.
Sounds like Gateway.
Yeah, Gateway's just no finesse, all gas and all bash.
Yeah, you didn't have a very good gateway this year, did you?
No, sucked. I ran sixth 2 years ago and I ran fourth last year. Just things didn't work out. I felt like I was going to make the race and then got roughed up a little bit and just didn't work out. I people always tell me I'm not rough enough to race in there, and they're true for the most part, but or they're right, but I don't know. I just can't bring myself to just running over people just to try to race or put on a show. I want to make good racing. I
Yeah.
want people to go there for the good racing, not just for the stupidity sometimes. So hopefully other people kind of see that and want to do the same.
Was this your first year in your Roger Sellers car down there?
No, I wasn't even racing his car this year. We put that wrap on, but I was actually still racing for Rick and Jessica Martis, the same car I have the last 2 years.
Oh,
So we're gonna work on that thing and get it dialed in. That way I'll be fast down there this year.
That's strictly a gateway car, huh?
Strictly Gateway. I do not take my own stuff there, without a doubt.
good
Would you
choice.
say is that some of the reason why you don't get all the Lucas guys going down there is just don't want to tear their shit up?
Pretty much, it's an amazing event. It's one of my favorite events of the year. Cody Summers and his entire staff do an awesome job, and I love going, and I'm 100% a supporter of it. But yeah, I mean, it's just really, really hard on stuff. It's more of a show than it is a race. Like I said, if people kind of use their heads a little bit more, it could be a race. And just like the final night, the 40 lap main event is a race. It's amazing racing, really. Like you see Shepard and Bobby just ripping it, and there might be one, if not two cautions the whole race, and it's awesome. But there's a lot of people trying to get into the race that are trying to put on a show as well, and sometimes they forget what we're doing. But it's just part of it sometimes. That's just part of the event.
I think they need to make everything invite only. Because there's just some guys who show up to that probably should not be there, and they're always in the back, and they're always getting lapped or they're causing yellows. They should make the
Yeah,
late models invite only.
and that's something they're not doing an invite only, but they are doing like a draw. So anybody
Oh,
can register, and then they're only going to draw like 80 to 100 cars this year. So it will eliminate some of those people. I'm not saying you don't deserve to be there, but
right.
when they're trying to put on an event like that, it just takes away from the event sometimes, and they're trying to keep that from happening. So I would say this year coming up, especially paying, I think 75 grand or 50 or whatever it is, I think it'll kind of boost the quality of cars there.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's not that you're knocking on anybody, but any way you look at it, your Devin Morans, your Tyler Erbs, your Bobby Pierce, all them guys, you're the guys who bring people in. I mean, not saying, like you said, not saying some of them people don't deserve to be there, but you guys are the ones that are making the money there. I mean, essentially.
Yeah, and to be honest, like I feel like it should be a deal if you don't race 30 to 40 times a year, maybe you shouldn't be going there, you got to put some kind of stipulation on it, but like I said, it's one of them deals that's kind of a tricky situation because they get so much support, so you don't want to upset anyone, but at the same time you don't want to take away from the fans a great event, and sometimes that does happen.
Right.
Our apparel sales down at that event just nuts.
Yeah, they are pretty good, I do as good at Eldora as I do anywhere, but I
Gotcha.
know like Bobby Pierce and Shepard and them guys, they're the Illinois bull ring guys, and Nick Hoffman, he's from St. Louis. They really kill it out there. So it's cool to see. I mean, there's so many people out there. It's cool to see that many people out there and all race fans wearing race shirts.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty hard event not to just absolutely love from a fan standpoint racer. I mean, especially when it's, being early December, it's far enough out where people have kind of been out of the racing field for a little bit, but yet it's still fresh in their minds and just a fun time of the year to have that race.
100%, without a doubt.
But no, another
Kind of
question
going
I
back,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Nope, you
All right.
go.
Uh, Kind of going back to the racetracks, like that you said, do you want to win at, like Port Royal and Knoxville? Them being like big half miles, are you like half miles, or are you more of like an elbows up around like a quarter mile or 3/8 mile type of deal?
I honestly don't know because I run really good at the big tracks, but I also run good at Fairbury as well. So, um, I like any racetrack as long as it's racy. If you can move around and race, like Port Royal can be an amazing racetrack. Same with Knoxville. Them are just some of the tracks that are like everyone knows them tracks. They're really good racetracks. So them are tracks you want to win at. But like I've never won at Farmer City, and I really want to win at Farmer City as well. It's a low quarter mile bull ring. So yeah, I like them all as long as they're racy. To be honest.
Do
Question
farm
on racetracks. Is there a track on the tour that you do not like to go to?
Yeah, I'm not a big Batesville, Arkansas fan. Like, I've ran decent out there at times. And really this year they did a good job on the track, especially on the final night. But it just seems like every time we go there, the track rubber's up and it's a
Yep.
long way out there. And if it doesn't rubber, I love it. I love racing out there when they give us a good track. But unfortunately, that's just not the case every time we go there.
is that the topless?
Yeah, you got it.
Is that
Jake,
all they do? They don't have any. That's the only race they have on the tour?
No,
Yep, just the top.
Top
But
of.
it's a 2 day show. It's the week after Florence and the week before uh Port Royal.
Gotcha.
now that we're
Yeah,
kind of on
definitely a
race,
common thing out there though. Rubbered
100%.
up.
Yeah.
Like it can be like I'm telling you, it can be an awesome racetrack, and like everyone can say they don't have the equipment or whatever, but whenever they water the track and it races really good, it's fun. It's really fun to go to. But like I said, there's just a lot of times that they don't put the effort in my opinion.
Yeah.
no, now that we're talking about racetracks, what were your thoughts on the Pennsboro reunion? Obviously, you had some success there, but what was Pennsboro like getting to be back there racing there?
To be honest, I loved it. We had a blast that weekend. We literally had our pop up tent set up to grill out every night, and we had a couple burn barrels there, and we really took it in. We were singing and jamming out and racing and cooking and drinking and just we had a lot of fun. So the whole event and environment I thought was really cool, and hopefully they do it again this year. I haven't seen any schedule or anything, but hopefully they do it again this year and they give us a schedule and it grows that event a little bit.
Absolutely.
That's the best part about racing. It's not half the time it's not even about the racing, but some of those weekends can be so fun.
Oh, 100%.
Some of them 3-day shows, I wish I should probably just leave my car in the trailer and just drink and grill out and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
sometimes.
all of us racers think that sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just leave her in the box tonight. But
Yeah, but not
um
all of us have won. What's our biggest check out of all of us? Who's won the biggest?
I won 53
500?
grand at Houston's last year.
Yeah, I think
my
mine's
my biggest win was $650.
Where was that at?
Deer Creek Speedway.
I love Deer Creek.
I
it's
was
the best.
16 years old. I won my first ever B mod race and it paid 350 to win, but a trucking company donated an extra 250, so it was 550. And then I had a random guy in the stands come up to me and give me $100 bill for winning my first feature. I never forgot that.
Perfect.
You know?
Bonus money.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, brother.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Only year 11 of B mods or whatever I'm on. But that's another question. Have you always been in a late model, or what do you race before the late models?
So I raced quarter midgets when I was real young, like from when I was like 7 to 11 or 12 or whatever. And then I jumped straight into a super late model when I was 14 and just been hammering down ever since.
We started in Hornets and hobby stocks. You go right into 800 horse. I love it.
That's just I was lucky enough. I had my grandpa and my dad. They gave me an old race car. I started in '09, and my grandpa had an old Masterbuilt, like a 2004 Masterbuilt. And that's what I started in. That's what I raced for the first 4 or 5 years, and it slowly just got to where I'm at now.
So you were
You know,
racing. Go
how
ahead.
much has changed since you were 14 when you started with super late? Like, has it stayed the same? Because I've heard like rumors, way back when Scott Blumenquist was running, that you guys were running the same lap times as you do now when he was running way back when in the late models. Is that you think that's pretty true, or has it changed a ton from when you started?
The lap times haven't got crazy, crazy different, but the style of racing has changed a ton.
Yeah.
Back then, like our cars weren't all hiked up like they were now. Really, everything was a lot flatter. The bodies were way simpler, and like I felt like we probably had more straight line traction back then. But our corner speed now compared to then is just insane, and our technology, our shocks and springs, everything's just changed so much. Like like the the suspension is all pretty much the same, but we've just fine tuned it. And same with the shocks, we fine tuned them to where we can just figure out how to make the most speed around the racetrack without slowing down. And that's where you see so many people driving so hard and so many sliders and different things like that because you're going so fast on corner entry. That's when you got to pass them nowadays.
Right.
So do you think how should I say this? Do you think late model racing is kind of topped out? Or, I mean, where can it go in another 10 years as far as I don't want to say lap times or technology, but how much more can late model racing, how much more advanced can it get at this point?
You see where F1's at, right? Do you watch
That's
any
true.
F1 stuff? We can keep on going and going and going. It literally never stops. There's so many smart people in our industry, not just dirt racing, but all kinds of forms of motorsports that are just going to keep evolutionizing the sport. So we're just going to keep on climbing and climbing and climbing, and there's no ending point, to be honest. Like we just keep on going and keep getting faster, and the rule changes is kind of what manipulates our racing. So like when they change a rule, everybody has to change and figure out how to get that, and then when they change another rule, we have to change and figure out how to get that. So that's kind of what equalizes people out or puts one person ahead of others. Just like I feel like Ricky Thornton's been really good ever since we came out with this new tire rule, and it just fits his package. So we just gotta he's got that figured out, and we've all slowly started catching him. and now there's going to be another rule change or something at some point, and it'll put someone else ahead, and everyone will start catching them.
Hopefully it's you.
Sticking with
I hope you're
sticking
right.
with sticking with rule
What's
change. Is
Oh
there a
yeah, go
rule
ahead.
change that you think could help late model racing?
Not really. Like everyone talks about late model racing needs help and this and that, but in my opinion, I feel like we race as good now as we ever have. But sometimes people criticize it because we're in the spotlight so much more than ever. If they give us a good racetrack to race on, almost 9 times out of 10, it's an awesome race. Like Brunswick had good racing, Alltech had good racing, Ocala had good racing, and Volusia all had good racing when they gave us a good racetrack. If it was rubber down, then the track wasn't good. But when we had a good racetrack, then it was awesome racing. So like in my opinion, I feel like late model racing, like the actual product of racing on the track, is as good as ever. And for some reason I don't think everybody sees that for I don't know why. But that's just kind of my opinion on it.
I'll say
Sure.
from um probably like the last 10, 12 years. I remember we used to have late models race at Deer Creek Speedway weekly, and they actually cut them because the car count was down. And honestly, the racing kind of sucked. This was probably 2000,
2013 was the last year
yeah,
they had them.
2013. And it was kind of what people thought when they thought of late model racing. It was single file around the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
one lane. And then it was like, that was kind of what I always had on my mind was late model racing. Then it was like 2014, 2015. It was just like, it almost seemed like the style of dirt late model racing changed. I don't know if that was just has to do with late models getting more aero. I don't know. It just seemed like the style of late model racing changed from like 13 to 15, and then all of a sudden you were seeing all these slide jobs, and it just seemed like late model racing really took off in those years in my mind.
Yeah, in my opinion, some of that's the cars, but I think majority of it is the drivers that were kind of coming in compared to the drivers that were going out. My dad retired in 2013. You had guys like who were really good back then, Rick Eckert, Scott Bloomquist, Dale McDowell. Like they were smooth, just kind of drive around, race side by side, and it be boring sometimes to be honest. I hate to say it, but that's just how it was. And nowadays you got guys like myself, Bobby, Shepard, Turbo, like people that are on the gas, trying to get to the front, passing cars, and it makes for more exciting racing. I feel like so. It's just a style of racing that we've grew up with, and like I said, I feel like our cars provide us the ability to drive like that, so we can be really good doing it.
For sure. I've got a really random question for you.
I
You
got you.
got you got race suits behind you. One thing I've always no, it's not you're not. I'm not going to ask what you think I'm gonna, but um, all these late model guys have all these suits. Is that something that is budgeted into like a basically what you have to spend that year, or is that something that it's like product sponsors of like these manufacturers that are buying them for you?
So I can't speak for any other teams, but for my deal with my team, I have to provide all my safety equipment, everything.
Oh,
So I have a great relationship with Simpson, and I've been on board with Simpson ever since day one. So they help me out a lot, but at the same time, a lot of my stuff it comes from different sponsors. Some stuff I pay out of pocket, just because I gotta have it. But a lot of stuff comes from different sponsors. I have my iBox suit, my Bill Stein suit. Let's see what else do I have. My BRS suit, my US
that
Steel suit,
that
Car
that
Source.
new
So
one that you just or
Yeah, so you just won in a new
that
one.
that
yeah,
like
the
twice
black
or
one, my
something.
Buckeye suit.
Yeah,
That thing is
Yeah,
sweet.
I'm a Big Ten life. You guys Minnesota fans
go
then?
Gopher
Minnesota
fans.
fan, go Gophers.
That's a bummer. I'm sorry, gentlemen.
It's
Yeah.
dude,
All Minnesota sports, man.
being a
Oh,
Minnesota
it
sports
sucks.
fan is brutal
Are they
It
good at
sucks.
anything? Are they good at like hockey or anything at
We're
least?
good enough. We're good enough
in
to get to the
everything.
playoffs
Good
every year,
enough
but
to
lose
disappoint
right
ourselves.
away.
Oof.
Yeah.
So I think at the beginning of this year, I think the Wild were number one in the country. We
They're
had
not
the
anymore.
Timberwolves stretch
They're not
last
anymore.
year where the Timberwolves made it. The Timberwolves made it to the NBA
Western Conference Finals.
conference
West,
game. The Vikings
Doesn't
were
it?
14-3 this year, lost first round of the playoffs. It's just
Oh, one of my crew guys is a major Vikings fan. He was so mad.
Oh,
Oh,
it's just
Jesus.
it's just hard to be a Minnesota sports fan. It don't really matter what sport it is.
That's all right. My Buckeyes won a national championship for you.
They
Yeah,
did.
you,
go. There
at
you
least it
go.
Pretty
was
good.
at least it was Big Ten. I mean,
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. I'm Big Ten all the way.
so did
Yeah,
you?
no.
Oh,
So
go ahead.
I was sorry I kind of just broke up our whole conversation with that question, but I was always curious because all these late model guys have, all these different suits or like just different sponsors on their chest, whatever. So I was curious if that's something budgeted in or if that was
No,
someone giving
mainly
you
just
whatnot.
sponsors come up to me and say, "Hey, we want to do a suit. Can we figure something out?" And we usually do.
Gotcha.
So I'm just kind of looking through some of the questions here. I want to rip off a couple of these quick. Um, one on here said, "Is aerodynamics more important now than it's ever been in the sport?"
100%. And that's just because we've learned more about it now than what they did in the past. We've got the big 4-inch lips on the nose with the wicker bills underneath of them. We got our 8-inch spoilers. We've got all of our decks dropped down compared to what they used to be. Obviously, all of our bodies are twisted more than they used to be. There's a ton of different things that we've done, which takes air away from the cars behind us, but it helps our own car. So um, it definitely manipulates the way you got to drive, and it manipulates the way the car acts. So you just got to kind of learn about it and try to figure it out.
No, it seems like nowadays, like you watch guys, they throw a slide job and all of a sudden someone throws the nose up into the ship because they took the air off their nose. It's just, you didn't see that. Like you go back, you watch some old videos with your dad and Billy Moore Jr. when they're sliding each other at
Yeah,
Eldora.
it never really happened back in the
Right.
day.
But no, that was just one I had. Double Down Motorsports. Take us through a little bit of, what kind of all went down there. Did they approach you? I guess you don't have to tell me all the internals, but just how you got this deal with Roger Sellers.
So when him and Hudson split, Hudson went to the Rocket One car, or announced that he was going to that. Roger actually contacted me. I was happy with Ty Torg at the time. I wasn't planning on leaving him or anything, and he contacted me and he pretty much said either I'm going to have you drive my car or I'm going to quit racing, and we just worked out a deal to where we could work out of my dad's shop in Ohio, and brought all of his stuff up here, and it's worked out flawless. It's been awesome for the last 3 years. So we haven't really had any hiccups that I know of, and I've been happier than I ever been, and I feel like he has too. So it's just worked out really, really well.
Absolutely. And it seems like you're probably having the most success you've ever had in your career in these
Hundred
last
percent.
probably 3 years.
Yes, 100%, and that is a testament to Roger Sellers and Double Down Motorsports because he knows what it takes, and we've got enough. Not enough. You never have enough sponsorship, but we've got enough to at least pay for a couple more crew guys to help us get it in the right positions to have a successful race team.
Absolutely.
I definitely want to ask this question before you go and let you go for the night. But
Yeah.
are you pro signals? I'll say that pro signals or against signals. Do you think it hurts or helps?
So I run signals every single night. Like my crew guy does a great job, Chuck does, and I've definitely won races with him. But in the entertainment standpoint and a fan standpoint, if they could figure out a way to get rid of all signals and any kind of signals in the cockpit or anything, I'd be totally for it because I think if you do that, it by far makes the racing for the lead better.
Yeah,
No, I think that's spot on. I mean, how many
that's
times
yeah for sure.
I say, how many times do you see it where you got, you know, we see it all the time because we can't signal, where you got the guy who's out front leading putts around the bottom, then all of a sudden you got that guy up on the top ripping the cushion down. It's like he don't know he's gonna be there until he's going by him. Where you
Yep.
see times with you guys where it's like, oh, Devin's out front or Bobby's out front, and all of a sudden RTJ's ripping the top, and all of a sudden it's like you guys know, and you guys get up there, and
Yeah,
then it takes the
Yep.
race for the lead away.
Yeah, and like I said, if they could figure out a way to completely get rid of all signaling, not have anything in cockpits or anything else, because like that's what I'm afraid of. When they do get rid of signaling, there'll be some people trying to do that. But if they get rid of it all, I think it would be awesome.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it'd
definitely
make
agree
the
on that
racing
one.
better. So is there like a set I guess I don't know if this is like secret information, but is every team signals different or is it pretty universal, up, down, middle?
I honestly have no idea because I've never talked to anybody else about signals. We've
Yeah,
got our
it's
own signals and our own, like we've got a couple different signs on what we do, which no one else probably knows about. They've probably seen them do it to me, but they don't really know what they mean, I'd say. So
right.
I'd say everyone kind of has their own certain things.
Right.
It's kind of like baseball steal signals,
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Just
Lines.
not quite
Yeah.
as complex.
right? No. Yeah, I guess we'll grab a few more from you and we'll get you off here. We just had some jotted down. What would you say has probably been the biggest win of your career, Devin?
Mm, I can't name just one. But Houston's last year for the Silver Dollar National was awesome. My Prairie Dirt Classic win was awesome. The Show Me 100 and Bristol. Them are my four biggest.
Okay. And then there was one more. Oh, um, if something could change in dirt late model racing, or what is something that could change in late model racing that would better the sport? Is there anything you can think of that would make, whether it's, I mean, it could be anything, streaming to setup to, is there anything that could make it better, you think, than it currently is?
That's a good question. I don't know if I can name anything off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure there's some things I could think about. For the overall sport, I mean, just trying to figure out how to get more money into the sport would obviously help.
Mhm.
Our the thing that would help the sport more than anything is trying to get more corporate sponsors into the sport. Our coroners spend so much money and they're losing money each and every year. If we could figure out how to get more sponsorship into our sport, it would do nothing but help.
Absolutely. Oh, I like that.
Cost of everything.
Oh, it's just brutal.
Well, we had Turbo on here a few times back, and he had kind of said something about that. He said, "Hey, if you know, if my car owner spends $600,000 a year, and we only bring in $200,000 a year, that's a $400,000 loss." And he's like,
Literally.
"But if we can, you know, if we can, because he was talking about not traveling with a tour, you know, doing his fun tour deal, and he's just like, you know, it makes more sense for us." To race here, here, and here than to try to follow this series. And no, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but no, he was just kind of talking about, you know, if we can race less but race for more. If my car owner spends 500,000 and we only make 300,000, that's only a 200,000 loss. You know, he
Yeah.
was just kind of talking about the financial side of what you guys do, the owners. Obviously, he said no one's dumb. None of these guys are making money. But no, I was just kind of curious on your take on that.
Yeah, that would be the biggest thing. Just trying to figure out how to get more money into a sport for everybody, but mainly for the car owners. Because if the car owners get more money, then the crew guys get more money. Then we put on better races.
Absolutely. But no, we've taken up about an hour of your time, man. Like I said, we really appreciate you getting on. Is there anything else you guys got for him while we got him here?
Should be good,
Any
man. Appreciate it for
sponsors or
sure.
Awesome.
plug yourself or whatever.
Yeah, if you wanna let people know, Devin, where they can find you, where they can buy your merchandise, any of that stuff, and we'll get you out of here, man.
Yeah, pretty easy. Just devinmoranracing.com or shopdevinmoran.com. My wife gets everything shipped out within the next couple days. She's usually pretty good about it, and I just appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, thanks
Sure,
for getting
man.
on, Devin. We wish you luck in your upcoming events and go get that Lucas Championship this year.
I hope so. Thank you guys.
Yep, take care, man.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.